My name is Brenda, and I'm 49 years old. I've been married to my husband Michael for about 20 years now. Last year, our son went off to a university in another state and I've got more free time. Considering I still had to send money to our son, I decided to start working part-time. Since the birth of my son, I had been a full-time homemaker. When I first started the part-time job, it was tough not being used to the work. Lately, however, things have changed at work. Sometimes my opinions are taken into account, and I feel like I'm making a real contribution. It's quite fulfilling. Hey Michael, guess what? I'm going to get a small raise soon. It feels great to have my hard work recognized. I said this cheerfully to Michael, who was idly watching TV. Then, out of nowhere, he asked something utterly baffling. Does that mean you can now live on your own? What? His tone was so casual that I thought I had misheard him, responding with a question mark. He then turned to me and said, perfect timing. I've been meaning to say something. A smirk crept across his face, giving me an uneasy feeling. I've found myself a cute girlfriend. I don't need you anymore. His words left me frozen in shock. Michael nonchalantly continued, tomorrow, pick up the divorce and marriage papers from the city hall. I was too stunned to comprehend what was happening. A girlfriend? You want a divorce to remarry her? As the situation became clearer, I could feel my body shaking. Michael sneered at me. I can still live as a man. Unlike you, who gave up being a woman long ago. There's no point in us being together anymore since our bedroom life has been dead for years. Such rude and thoughtless words. Indeed, our marital relationship had faded long ago, but it wasn't because I had given up on being a woman. I couldn't be attracted to a middle-aged man with a sloppy physique as a desirable partner. I'd rather pass. Anger and silliness bubbled up inside me. You're the one who always said you were tired, busy, or it was too much trouble avoiding me. And now you talk about living as a man? That's laughable. Hearing my words, Michael's face turned stern. What's so funny? Don't joke with me, old woman. He then hurled vile and harsh words at me. And with a smug look on his face, arms crossed, he boasted, the difference is night and day. Mary is completely head over heels for me. She's always bragging about having the best boyfriend. And you? Excited about a raise? It's laughable how easily pleased you are. Michael started to demean me, proudly talking about Mary, his apparent affair partner. Mary? Is that a new girlfriend's name? Michael went on to boast about Mary's background. She is in her mid-20s, much younger than my husband, and worked in the nightlife industry. And she is carrying his child. Age gap relationships aren't uncommon these days, but my husband, a father to a nearly 20-year-old son, having a child with a woman not much older than his own son? The thought disgusted me, almost driving me insane. Life needs love, you know. Not with someone like you, who's as cold and stale as moldy rice cake, but with Mary, fresh and glowing like newly pounded mochi. That's the kind of lasting love I need. Otherwise, what's the point of spending any money at all? He rattled on with a rolled tongue. So, it's just affection bought with money. Ignoring his own decline, he opts for a young, vibrant girl. I see. So you've switched to a young girl who'd flock to a married man for money, without any sense of morality. When I pointed this out, Michael yelled, spitting in anger, it's not about the money. It's love, I'm telling you. Anyway, I'm serious about her. I need to marry her as soon as possible and comfort her. You better pack your things and leave soon. I couldn't help but be astounded by how he laid out everything to suit himself. I was speechless. And at the same time, it all seemed so absurd. When was the last time this man even used the word love with me? I couldn't even remember. And I was sure, in time, he'd show the same lack of interest in Mary. With age, such fleeting emotions fade. The cruel words he was throwing at me now would soon be directed at her. Really, you're such a pathetic man. I should have realized this before we got married. Looking back, I had taken on all the housework and child-rearing. He, from his high horse, did nothing but criticize "this isn't done, that isn't right." Although it was the norm in those times, not a word of appreciation, let alone love. And now, after using me up, he plans to switch to a younger woman. It was beyond sanity. But Michael took my words as sour grapes. Then, it's a win-win situation. I'll write up the papers on my next day off. Make sure you prepare both sets, he said, before retreating to his room. For the next few days, I endured sleepless nights, and the tears of regret just wouldn't stop flowing. However, I tried my best to maintain a composed facade in appearance. On the following holiday, my husband did something unbelievable. He invited his affair partner to our home. "Hello, Mike's ex-wife, I've come for the formalities." Mary, the woman who sat confidently on the sofa, humming to herself, crossed her legs high. Just as my husband described, she exuded confidence in her exposed skin and appearance, evident from her demeanor. With flashy makeup, daringly revealing attire, and a tight skirt that left little to the imagination, she pushed boundaries. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't truly love my husband. If my intuition was correct, her motives were undoubtedly. Having already prepared myself for divorce, I confronted her directly. I had no intention of resisting, but something about her behavior bothered me. "You're Mary, right? Did you start dating Michael knowing he was married? Referring to me as ex-wife means that you understand our each position, right?" She chuckled and mockingly said, "I'm not dumb, you know. Don't underestimate me, old lady. You're the one who's about to be cast aside. I'm going to be Mike's wife now. Simple as that." She sneered with a grin, speaking in a condescending, lisping tone. "That's nice. I'm glad you answered so smoothly. I've got it all recorded. So, you do understand that I can claim alimony from you, right?" I showed her the recorder, capturing our entire conversation. She reluctantly complained to my husband, "Mickey, didn't you say not to involve her? This is not what we agreed on." My husband tried to calm her down. "Don't worry. I've thought this through. Come on, honey, don't be so angry." "Mickey, honey?" Their conversation was truly cringeworthy. As I frowned, my husband brought out some documents. "Please write the divorce papers with these conditions." The document listed terms for divorce, including alimony and pension division. "What? You're giving this old lady $300,000. That'll reduce my share, won't it?" Without even needing to press further, she candidly revealed her thoughts. Repeating, "It'll reduce my share." And that's when I became certain. Her target was the inheritance from my husband's biological father, which was in the process of being settled. Well, Mary dear. This includes our son's alimony, you know." My husband, trying to placate her seemingly reluctant demeanor, finds even such an overt attitude endearing. "Severance money, huh? That's pricey." I struggled to contain my anger, which had reached its peak. Nevertheless, I was convinced that my intuition was right. "If you can document the divorce terms in a notarized deed, this will suffice. Also, I request a lump sum payment," I added. I kept my response to the bare minimum. Knowing that our conversation was being recorded, my husband agreed to these terms. "Are you satisfied now?" During our exchange, his girlfriend, who had been looking bored, prompted us. We had just finished filling out the divorce papers. "Old lady, make sure you leave here by the end of the month, okay? I'm canceling my current lease. I'll submit the divorce papers once the notarized deed is ready. I'll leave as soon as that's settled." Upon hearing my reply, she grumbled complaints and reluctantly left, seemingly having planned to move in immediately. After a while, the notarized deed was processed, and we were officially divorced. Then, as if waiting for this moment, that woman came to kick me out. "Hurry up, don't dawdle, get out." She laughed merrily. "Just now, I submitted the marriage certificate. Now I'm Mike's wife. This lovely house is mine." I reluctantly handed her the front door key as she danced with joy. I asked her something I needed to confirm. Isn't Michael about the same age as your parents? If you call me an old lady, then Michael, who's older than me, is an old man, right? Why did you choose such a person as your marriage partner? Her frank answer matched my expectations exactly. Mike is a division manager at a top-tier company. This house is a recently remodeled, conveniently located property. It's a fairly stylish single-family home. I'll change the furniture to my liking. And she was lost in her dreams. Mike treats me like a princess. He's old and not handsome, but he buys me anything I want. Her triumphant look seemed to mock me, suggesting she had secured a comfortable future for herself. Hope it works out the way you want. With a sigh, I left the house I had lived in for many years. My new residence was a dormitory at a certain university. It's unusual these days, but I was hired as a live-in dorm mother. In fact, before this, I worked part-time at a corporate cafeteria. After splitting with Michael and wanting a fresh start, I explained my situation to my part-time job. My boss, who appreciated my work, spoke to the headquarters on my behalf. There was an opening in the dorm due to a staff retirement, and I gratefully accepted the job. Getting that nutritionist certification really paid off. My rent and utilities are dirt cheap. I can't go out much, but the place is comfortable and the work is enjoyable. About 3 months into this new life, my ex-husband called. Mom's in a bad way. Can you help with her care? The nerve of him asking that. We're strangers now. Your new wife should be the one to care for her. I pointed out the obvious, and he retorted, Mary is pregnant. Mom throws things due to her dementia. It's dangerous. So, it's fine if she throws things at me? Absurd logic, but no thank you. Don't call me anymore. We have nothing to do with each other. I pushed back fiercely. I had been with my mother-in-law for 20 years since marriage. It was a typical in-law relationship. No major battles, but we weren't close either. Plus, I had just started living independently in the dorm. I couldn't afford to take care of someone else. But somehow, my ex found out where I was and showed up with his new woman. We're at our wits' end. If you can't help with the care, return the alimony. What an absurd demand. I don't think I owe you anything. I responded coldly, and his girlfriend glared at me fiercely. You knew and tricked us. You knew there was no inheritance, just a mountain of debt. She yelled, scattering documents all over. Fooling you? That's a nasty accusation. You're the one who assumed Michael had wealth. I shrugged intentionally. Yes, I was handling the inheritance from my late father-in-law. That's when I discovered the huge debts. Normally, you'd just renounce the inheritance. But Michael had canceled his dad's phone, sold off household items and jewelry for cash before the process. There's a law, if you touch the estate before renouncing, you can't renounce it. That's what happened. So, the debts fell on Michael and his new partner. Michael, you dumped all the complicated inheritance procedures on me and didn't care to discuss anything, right? You used that estate for funding your affair with Mary. I declared triumphantly. You should have told us something so important. Michael protested, but that was my line. You should have listened when you had to. Now, both of you have to take responsibility. Huh. I didn't know about that. Nobody told me. The woman was flustered, her face pale as a ghost. So, you're just going to play dumb and run off with the money? They were pressing me hard, but it was none of my business. It's absurd what you're saying. If you hadn't cheated, there would have been no need to scrounge up money for your mistress, nor any need to renounce the inheritance. The root cause of this mess is unmistakably you. He groaned, stepping back as if stunned. Knowing he was married, you pursued a relationship for his assets, even had a child, and drove me out. Mary, that was all you. Now, you're in the position you wanted. I lectured her, old enough to be my daughter. If I'd known it would come to this, I wouldn't have bothered with such an old man. I still had more to say. Do you remember the notarized deed from our divorce? I received alimony, a portion of the pension, and child support from Michael. But besides that, I can demand alimony from you. What? You mean the $300,000 isn't enough? You're unbelievably greedy. She yelled, hurling insults at me in disbelief. Yes, I was going to forget about it if you two left me alone. But no, you come demanding care, asking for the alimony back, twisting logic in the most absurd ways. I've reached my limit. I revealed that I had recorded our discussions about the divorce terms and was seriously considering suing for alimony. She didn't look back, just ran away as fast as she could. As I watched her go, I turned back to Michael, still standing there dumbfounded. Running like that in the late stages of pregnancy? Makes me wonder if she was ever pregnant. She's gone now, but where's this love you spoke of? Michael gasped at my question. I was wrong. Please, come back to me. His plea, with tearful eyes, made him look suddenly aged. No chance. Please leave. Brenda. He broke down in tears, a pitiful sight. But after all he'd done, no mercy was needed. Later, as I predicted, she left only the divorce papers and disappeared. Her pregnancy turned out to be a lie. Michael was left to deal with the debts and care for his mother alone, worn down by stress and overwork. As for me, caring for kids the same age as my son as a dorm mother suits me well. I've even been told I look younger lately. I'll continue to live honestly, without getting carried away or doing anything odd. Everyone, be careful when it comes to divorce.